There is so much going on in political news. I really do wonder if these Republicans are going to be able to overcome other Republicans to be able to pass Trump's big, beautiful bill. The fact that he actually named it one big, beautiful bill is amazing to me, but that is what they're trying to do. But they are trying to overcome themselves because many Republicans are pushing back because this is so completely unpopular. But MAGA Mike Johnson is saying that they are still in a very good place. I'm going to go through some of the highlights. House Republican leaders returned from a meeting at the White House optimistic that they could hold a final vote on Donald Trump's sweeping tax and policy package, perhaps as early as this evening. And you know that they did meet up in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. in D.C. because they are so transparent about the process. It says, but that may be wishful thinking on the most important piece of legislation in Trump's second term, where competing GOP factions are making it difficult for the president's party to find a majority of votes. Multiple House GOP lawmakers said on May 21st that they would still not support this package. Some of the most conservative GOP members are pushing for deeper cuts than are already in this bill. MAGA Mike Johnson says, I think we can resolve their concerns. It says even Republican members who hadn't raised concerns before were bringing them up as Trump's White House tried to help broker a final deal. And remember, just yesterday, Trump said we're not doing anything for Democrat governors. So if they happen to have a state, even if it has some MAGA people in their state, even if it's supposed to be the United States of America, Trump said absolutely not. All right, so what has been a sticking point is this SALT deduction. All right, it says raising the SALT deduction is a bailout for Democrat governors paid for by red states with low taxes. Representative John Rose, a Republican out of Tennessee, wrote on X, Tennesseans should not foot the bill for New York and California's mismanagement. And keep in mind, most red states are welfare states. The blue states like Illinois, California, New York are donor states. They actually pay more in taxes than these red states, which are welfare states or taker states. Let's just talk about math and how razor thin everything has to be. Republicans have to get everybody on board because the House currently has 220 Republicans and 212 Democrats. So if the Democrats all get on board and vote no, the Republicans have to get all of them to vote yes. All right, it says, but if one Democrat is absent, that margin would rise to four. Four Democrats and one Republican missed the last House vote Tuesday night. Three of the five said they would be voting on the megabill when it comes up. Spokespeople for two others, Representatives Donald Norcross, Democrat from New Jersey, and Greg Stanton, Democrat from Arizona, did not respond to requests for comment. But it says Norcross has not voted since suffering a medical emergency in early April. Here's Chuck Schumer talking about the SALT deduction. So he says this so-called SALT deal is a humiliating failure for New York House Republicans. Donald Trump came to the Capitol to intimidate them, and in less than 24 hours, they have all bowed to their king. Their capitulation to Trump on SALT is a slap in the face to Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and hardworking middle-class families across New York. I already talked about this quote from Representative John Rose. He's actually, I think, running for governor in Tennessee, and that's why I think he's taking this hard stance anyway. So here he is on X talking about this bailout. SALT deduction is a bailout for Democrat governors. And to that, this man named Joseph says, SALT deductions aren't about subsidizing blue states. They're about not double taxing people who already pay higher local taxes for better schools, transit, and healthcare. If anything, it's the red states like yours that often rely on more federal aid from blue states while complaining about fairness. Why talk about something you don't understand? And to that, Don says, wrong. This should be a state issue and not federal. And to that, Joseph said, then let's be consistent. If it's a state issue, why did the federal government cap the SALT deduction in 2017 specifically to punish high tax states? Either the feds stay out or they don't get to pick winners and losers based on partisan geography. They're not going to own up to the fact that Trump is literally trying to punish blue states, but blue states are already donor states. So I don't know what to say about this, but there are actual MAGA people in these these blue states. So they're going to be punishing their own people, which might impact the midterms. Now, let's talk about this one big beautiful bill. Now, keep in mind that the Senate is probably not going to pass this. There are already MAGA senators or Republican senators that says, nah, we're not going to do this. So like it says right here, keep in mind the Senate is likely to significantly change this bill, and the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office continues to review the legislation. And if you remember anything about how a bill works, the House is going to give vote on something. It has to pass. Then it goes over to the Senate. If they change anything, so they would change it and then they would have to send it back to the House. This is not going to get passed. One big beautiful bill is going to be one big beautiful bust, but we have to at least talk about the process and what could happen. So this graphic says potential impacts of the one big beautiful bill. More than an estimated 8 million recipients could lose their Medicaid coverage, according to a CBO analysis requested by House Democrats. Republicans say they're targeting able-bodied adults and undocumented immigrants, but other beneficiaries could also be impacted. A bunch of people are about to lose their Medicaid because of Republicans. Cuts to SNAP food assistance by roughly $230 billion over 10 years, because Republicans don't give a damn about if their constituents can eat, if poor people can eat. Who gives a damn about that when you have to cut taxes for the ultra wealthy? All right, it extends Trump's tax cuts for the ultra wealthy, fulfills Trump's campaign promises of no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime, provides, this is so important, provides $50 billion to build the wall, the border wall that, remember, Mexico was paying. But obviously that was a lie from a long, long time ago. And we have to remember that he's a liar. So I have to remember to put that in. Trump is a liar. Mexico did not pay for this wall. Republicans keep repeating they're just trying to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse. If they repeat it enough, it's probably going to happen. But like I said earlier, Democrats say about 8 million people could lose their coverage. And that's just, based on a quick overview, because the CBO didn't really get a chance to examine everything, especially since they did this in the middle of the night. The fact that they let this man keep walking out with this brown makeup on while he has like this pinkish white ear is beyond me. But it says under the bill's current text, these work requirements don't kick in until 2029 as Trump leaves office. But House Republican hardliners are looking at moving that date up to 2026 or 2027 in their negotiations with leadership. And the work requirements are that people have to work about 80 hours a week. 80 hours a month. 80 hours a month. The bill also increases copays for Medicaid recipients who make more than the federal poverty limit for single beneficiaries, which is just over $15,000, which is a little bit over $1,000 a month, which is no money in this economy. They would be required to pay an extra $35 copay in some visits, making just a little bit above $1,000 in this economy. I cannot believe that they really want these people to pay this stuff, but that's where we are with these Republicans. All right, it says it also increases the required Medicaid paperwork, so the verification process is twice a year. They're hoping that all of the extra paperwork will get people kicked off of the rolls as well. The bill tightens eligibility for SNAP, which helped roughly 42 million low-income people per month buy groceries in 2024. Adults age 55 to 64 and children will face additional work requirements to qualify for SNAP. They are about to put kids to work. You hungry? You're about to go to work. The bill also shifts some SNAP costs to the states. The program is currently 100% federally funded. This bill requires states to share in at least 5% of SNAP benefit costs starting in 2028. So they're looking to cut roughly $230 billion over 10 years. The changes could have an indirect impact on the school lunch programs, which Republicans have already said that they want to cut because they don't give a damn about impoverished school kids. We've already talked about that. They've been cutting this for years. And they keep talking about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime pay. We'll see if that gets through. MAGA seniors, they're sitting up here still clamoring for Social Security to not have taxes. So this is just a snapshot of what's going on. We'll see what gets passed. Y'all join the conversation, like, comment.